Welcome back, you guys, to dare I say, the second episode of the 10 Dimensions of Wellness podcast. But this is our second season, so we're super excited about this. As you guys know, I am your host, Cammie Red, and I am excited to bring you another impactful episode as we explore the many, many facets of wellness. Today, we're diving into functional whole health and cultural awareness with Ann Lindholm, one of our featured cultural wellness speakers for this year's Virtual Wellness Summit. Ann specializes in functional whole health, addressing the spirit, mind, emotions, and body as interconnected parts of our well-being. She also brings a deeper understanding of cultural awareness and global security, guiding us on how to overcome unhealthy and ignorant views of other cultures. In a world that is more connected than ever, her insights are crucial for fostering understanding and respect. So without further ado, let's get started. Hello, Ann, and welcome to the show. How are you today?
Ahlan, shukran habibti. Kaif halik? How are you? I'm doing well, thank you.
Yes, tell everybody about your learning journey and what you're on right now.
Girl. So I went back to school full time, and I have changed paths to international, from Homeland Security and Counterintelligence to international relations and global security. And I just shot out with the bang and started with Arabic and international relations with human rights. But I've been practicing and learning Arabic for a while, but now I'm learning how to read and write.
Oh, that is so awesome. I'm so excited for you. So
I don't know if excited is the right word, but sure.
No, I'm excited because every time we broaden our minds and grow, that's something to look forward to. So I'm excited for you because Arabic is not an easy language to learn. It's not an easy language to write, and it's definitely not an easy language to read. So this is something that is very exciting, especially with your cultural diversity background. So this is something that I am rooting for you all the way for, okay?
Very much.
All right, you guys, let's go ahead and get started. So, Ann, can you tell us about the Key of David consulting service and what motivated you to start your journey in functional whole health?
Yeah, absolutely. So Key of David Consulting is a for-profit consulting business. It originally started for global security consulting, global security and travel safety consulting. But it quickly evolved into functional whole health as well, including what you had mentioned earlier: mind, body, spirit, cultural wellness, nutrition, fitness. I am a 5-time nationally certified personal trainer, to include fitness and nutrition. I've recently been focusing on getting certified as an intelligence or emotional intelligence life coach as well, just because I recognize that plays a crucial role in our overall well-being. In that, the cultural wellness that comes in also. One of the things that I've learned in my travels overseas is I want to try to phrase it in the most gentle, polite way. We think we know a lot. And we think we know a lot about other people and other cultures. And the fact of the matter is, we really often don't. We think we know, right? And we're taught things. We read about things. We read about people. We read textbooks. We read social media. And we begin to form these perceptions in our mind of what we believe other people are like.
Are those perceptions or really judgments?
Right. So, and it's not just of other cultures and other parts of the world. It's other cultures even within your own country.
Yep.
In America right now, we've been facing a lot of tension when it comes to homosexuality, the LGBTQ community. We were dealing with a lot of racial tension, in the last 7 to 10 years with the, was it Jefferson? I think Jefferson, Missouri. And then we had things in other states that just kind of blew up. We've had all the issues with Antifa and with Black Lives Matter and this and that and the LGBTQ stuff. And then we're even really seeing trends now with social media where there's just a lot of I think what's known right now, most people will be able to relate to as body shaming.
Yes.
And people who will judge others or maybe treat others differently based on their fitness level or the shape of their body or whatever. So how does it, how do these other facets play in with the global security and travel? Well, it absolutely does, because if you are going to be going overseas for any reason, if you own a business and you're interacting with people outside of the States, you need to know how to do that well. You need to know how to interact well. You need to know and have a basic understanding of cultural relevance and awareness of the cultures that you're going to be engaging with, especially with those groups that I just mentioned, within the States. So it's all encompassing. All of these things fall under the realm of entire wellness.
Yeah.
So I hope I articulated that well, but
You
it really all.
Now listen, your focus on cultural awareness and global security is extremely intriguing. How did your personal experiences shape this aspect of your wellness practice?
Oh, wow. You're going to just dive right in. So about 12 years ago, for about 10 years, starting in around 2008, I started doing investigative research with the focus on counterterrorism and homeland security. My focus was on the Islamic threat to the United States from within and without, but mostly a focus from within, including within our own government. And that focus was geared mostly towards the Muslim Brotherhood and all that entails. In those years of about 9 to 10 years of investigative research, of which two very high value, prominent leaders were blocked from entering the U.S. At customs due to my research, rightfully so. But in that process, I really began to develop, shamefully, a hatred for a particular group of people. My heart really grew very hard, and so much that I honestly believed and felt that they needed to not. It would be better and safer for the world if they didn't even exist. And trust me when I say that hurts to even vocalize that. Thankfully, I had a spiritual encounter and awakening over the last since about 2012 is really when it started. I made a commitment to start really seeking who God is, who I am in Him, and how am I supposed to relate to those around me. And he really came in and caused a radical transformation from within. And he really pulled me out of that realm and that community that I was in and helped me realize the wrong thinking that had been imputed into my brain, into my thinking, how I had really, my thoughts, my mindsets, my ideologies had really been influenced by those around me. And it was almost as if I was in this bubble, which really, I really was. I wasn't exposing myself to other people who thought differently than me, who came from different backgrounds than me. So in my mind, I was right? You don't know what you don't know. And then when Afghanistan fell in 2021, our colleague had reached out for help. He had asked several for help with Afghan rescues. I don't drink, I promise. I may drink a little too much coffee, and so in that process, I immediately stepped up, and that quickly turned into a job, a paid position. I knew without a doubt in the beginning, the reason I accepted that request for help is because I recognized that America failed. America failed the Afghan people. America failed the world in the way that the pullout was done. And we could have weeks of conversations on all of this. Should we have even been there in the first place and all the things, right? So anyhow, starting in 2012, I made that commitment every day to start off sitting at the feet of my creator and just I said, I want to know who you really are. I'm tired of man telling me who you are. I'm tired of reading commentaries and all the other things and everybody else shaping who I believe you are. I just want to know you for you. Show me the truth. And if it's different than what I've been believing, and if it's uncomfortable, I still want to know. And if I need to make changes, then I'm willing to do that. That's how this all started. And then Afghanistan fell. And then some other things happened during COVID with the mask mandates and all the things. And God really answered my prayer and my request. Show me who you really are, even if it looks different than what I believe. And it looked very different. And it still looks very different. And every day I cannot sit in his presence and walk away unchanged. I cannot sit in his presence and not die to who I was and be resurrected new at every sitting. Absolutely. And so in this process and working with Afghan rescues, I ended up overseas quite a bit and have spent the last 2.5, 3 years extensively overseas in the Middle East and in Europe, where I began an amazing journey of discovering not only did I not know it all, but I also was very limited and skewed in my view of the world, of others, of other cultures, of the way things can be done. I really had this belief ingrained in me that America truly was the best nation in the world and that America had all the answers and that we were right in everything. And I was really in for a rude awakening. And in this spiritual journey, ironically enough, my Muslim brothers and sisters and Muslim counterparts and people of other faiths in other parts of the world really forced me into a crisis of belief through some of their questions that they would ask about my own faith. And to be honest with you, I quickly discovered there were a lot of things that I couldn't actually answer about what I believed. And so I had to go even deeper. And so this is a really long roundabout the mountain answer. But
it's a good one though. It's a good one though.
Yeah. And it's very important because in this process, it was just part of, by God's design, he removed me from the equation for a while. And then not only did he bring me back into global security, but he dropped me into the heart of the very people that I had grown to hate. And it would be those very people who actually began to continue the inner work of my spiritual healing and my emotional healing and my intellectual healing. And it would be these very people that actually began to open my eyes to beautiful views and understandings of who God really is through their culture, their way that they honor family, the way that they honor community, the way that they honor relationship and the person sitting in front of them. I very, very quickly learned, my Afghan and Pakistan country manager, when an operation would come up and things were going on, and I would send them a message and I would just immediately go right into work. Hey, so-and-so, I need da-da-da-da-da. Well, they would kindly respond and gently respond with, good morning, Ann. How are you today? How is your family? And da-da-da-da. And I'd be like, just get to the point, But they were teaching me.
Yep.
So when I was overseas and around immersed in these cultures, I began to realize work doesn't come first. Career doesn't come first. Material things don't come first. I have a human being in front of me, and I need to honor that person and engage with this person. And how are you? How is your family? Right?
Yep.
And it's just, there's so much wrong thinking was annihilated and is continuing to be annihilated and revamped. And I'm loving it. It's beautiful.
Okay. Now, you emphasize engaging with people who are different from us. What are some practical steps listeners can take to actually start this journey?
Well, I will just go ahead and throw it out there right off the bat that one of the things you'll see behind me, you may not be able to see it all, but it basically says it's finding Hanasa, creation, community, and culture.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a project that has been birthed out of these experiences. So I will go ahead and tell you that we're working on an amazing 10-day journey where I will take people into different countries and we will go on a Finding Hanasa journey together. It'll be capped at 12 people, and where we will experience our Creator, our God, through creation, community, and culture. And basically we'll go on a discovery process where I don't tell anybody what to think, how to think, what to believe, how to believe, or anything like that. But we just engage in who God is. We engage in His Word, and we just ask a lot of exploratory questions. We're going to immerse ourselves into culture, into community, and really begin to gain a biblical worldview of who God is, who we are in Him, and how we are to relate to those around us. And so really intentionally putting ourselves around and in places and people that we are not accustomed to. So it's a Finding Hanasa 10-day journey that is being designed now and will be released soon.
We're going
And
to
you
come
will,
back to that because I have some
yeah,
questions for that as well.
absolutely. But
Yeah.
in addition to that, just locally, look, if you really don't know anyone who is a part of the LGBTQ community, or maybe you do and you don't spend time with them, I encourage you, invite them into your home, invite them over for dinner. If you don't feel comfortable with that, that'd be a great place to start. Maybe ask yourself, why don't you feel comfortable having them in your home, and really assess. And by the way, these are all tools that we will be providing at findinghanasa.com. But you really need to assess, why are you not comfortable bringing them into your home? Are they valid reasons? But just think about who do you know that's vastly different than you? Maybe it's their sexual identity. Maybe it's their faith background. Maybe it's their political background. Dare we talk about politics?
Oh my
Is it
God. In America, that could be a firestorm.
right? Yeah, and it shouldn't be though. And so that's an indicator that Houston, we have a problem, right?
Yeah.
Maybe their cultural background is different. Maybe their family style, whatever. However, they're different than you. Maybe their skin tone is different. Whatever it is, intentionally put yourself around people who are different than you. And do it for the purposes of engaging in open dialogue and genuinely getting to know them as a human being, not engaging for the purposes of you influencing them or teaching them what to think or how to think, or, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
actually just get to know them as a person. You might find you have a lot of things in common.
Yes.
So those are a couple of things. Go to restaurants of different cuisines that maybe you've never tried before, right? Maybe rent a book at the library about a person that comes from a background that you know nothing about. Maybe go to a worship service just to experience what other people are experiencing. Maybe go to cultural art centers or museums. I know there are a lot of communities, Vienna, Austria, Budapest, Hungary, Prague, Czech Republic, are really good at arts and culture. And you can experience live entertainment in the arts and culture from various parts of the world. It is a beautiful way to learn about how other people express themselves.
Yeah.
Poetry,
And
right?
just, yeah, to piggyback on what you just said, we actually have more in common than we do differences, and a lot of people don't even realize that. And that's across the board with religion. That's across the board with race, culture, various countries. We
Yeah,
have some of the same beliefs. We have some of the same values. Then we actually are different from each other.
absolutely. Let me ask you this. Do you have a mom?
Yes.
Do you have a dad?
Yes.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
Yes.
Do you have cousins?
Yes.
Do you have neighbors?
Absolutely.
Do you like to eat?
Who doesn't?
Do you like music?
I love it. Yep.
Do you like to read?
Yes.
Do you enjoy nature?
Absolutely.
Do you enjoy coffee?
I just finished drinking a cup.
Do you know what? Every single one of those things you and I have in common.
Exactly. That's my point right there. We all have more in common than we actually have differences. And if you find those commonalities amongst each other, you will realize that we are all one human race.
That's right. And now let's look at this. Cammie, is it difficult for you to fix your hair every day?
Not for me, but it can be for others.
You know what? For me, it's really difficult to make my hair look like it does now, and I'm still not happy with it. I might possibly be able to learn something from you because do you know what? Even though your hair is black and mine is, I call it platinum. I
It's
identify with
beautiful.
platinum.
Yes.
You want to know something? While it looks like it's straight, my hair is actually very wavy and kinky and frizzy. I might be able to learn something from you about how to take care of my hair.
Yes. So again, more in common than we have differences.
And
So
even the difference is like we can learn from each other. You might like a food that I've never
I
even
was just,
considered. Maybe I don't even know about it. And you know
yep.
what? You might actually like it.
So I get it. I absolutely get it.
Yeah.
Um, let's move on. Let me ask you this. Your approach includes learning about the world through a biblical worldview. How do you actually incorporate that into your consulting work?
So, first of all, I don't push my beliefs on anyone. And I actually have clients who are not Christian and don't necessarily want to use the Bible per se. But here's the cool thing, they believe in God, they address him as something else. I believe in God, I address him as something else. But what we've discovered is we actually believe a lot of the same things about who God is. And so
Yep.
we incorporate that. When I'm and I call it facilitating. When I'm facilitating for someone, right, to help them walk through just who they are and help them discover how to grow in any of those areas that I consult in, whether it be nutrition, fitness, emotional intelligence, whatever. Um, I'm very rarely giving advice. I'm very rarely telling somebody what they should do. I'm very rarely telling someone that they're wrong about something,
Mm-hmm.
right? If ever. Instead, what I do is I actually walk them through a discovery journey with exploratory questions that help. They honestly, they do a majority of the talking, 90% of the talking. And what this does is it actually helps them discover what their problem is or what their challenge is. And it also helps them discover what some potential solutions are. And if they're struggling, I might provide some tools and activities to help them discover what their issue is or challenge. And then that also helps them discover the solution. So again, even for spiritual guidance, when people come to me for, for spiritual direction or whatever, which I have a lot of people who do that. I never just tell them, well, that's what this means, or this is what that means, or this is what I think. That's very rarely the case. What I normally do when they ask me, well, what do you think about this? I'll actually turn it back around on them. What do you believe it's saying? And then we'll go to the source of wherever their question is coming from, if it's the Bible or if it's the Quran or if it's whatever or whatever it is. Okay, well, let's read what the actual text says. Okay, what does this say to you about who God is? And then they answer that question. If they say something that doesn't seem to match what we just read, so then I'll ask them, okay, I just heard you say this. Can you help me understand where in the text that we just read you're getting that view from? And what that does is it actually forces them into deconstruction of any wrong thinking. I'm not telling them what they said was wrong. I'm asking for clarification to help understand what they're understanding. And
Yes.
what this does is when I ask them that, then they go back and they're looking at it again, and it actually forces them into a somewhat crisis of belief. I don't know. Why am I'm not sure where I got that. That's okay. Let's think about it. Have you
Yeah.
maybe heard someone say this before? Have you read it somewhere else? Have you seen it in another text or in another source, not here? Oh, you know what? I remember a pastor used to say this all the time. Ah,
Mm.
okay. Well, Is that anywhere in the Bible or whatever text you're going based off? And so then we'll do a Google search or a search and try to find, is it anywhere in there? Oftentimes it's actually nowhere in the text that they're basing their beliefs off of. And people are actually set free from wrong thinking and heavy burdens that other people are putting on them, because they're actually going on a self-discovery, realizing that's actually not even in here. We can do the same thing. What does this teach us about humanity or myself? And we go through the same process. Again, I'm never telling them what to think or that it's wrong. I'm just leading them in a process to help them discover what do they really believe and why, and then how to articulate that.
That is so cool. Now, let me ask you this. How do you feel understanding and honoring cultural differences contribute to personal wellness and broader societal benefits?
I think I understand your question. So again, and this can really turn into a very heated discussion quickly with certain people. And in fact, I've actually been cussed at by some Christians. I've actually been told that I'm antichrist and satanic and all these weird things.
This is a judgment-free zone, and we're all here to learn. So you won't get, and if you do, those Christians that come on to leave feedback and comments, they're just probably needing to take a course from you. So
yeah. So really, again, it's not my place to tell someone what to believe or how to believe. They are never going to be in a genuine relationship with Creator God because I told them to.
Yeah.
They will never experience a personal relationship with Him based off of what I think about Him or know about Him or believe about Him. Right?
Yes.
And so regardless of what faith background they're coming from, again, using the same processes, and there's much more to it, but I gave you a very simplified version. Using that simplified version, it's really helping them, again, discover what they believe, why they believe, and how they can articulate it. And by the way, it becomes much easier to articulate what you believe when you know why you believe it.
Yes.
Okay. So again, how do I come to terms with someone maybe who's outside of my cultural beliefs or spiritual beliefs? There's nothing to come to terms with. Again, all I'm doing is living my life based on what He has shown me, who He's created me to be, which, by the way, one of the most important commandments, which is also known as the golden rule or the golden commandment.
I know where you're going.
Is to love others.
Treat others and love others as you want to be treated and loved. Yep.
That's exactly right. And let me just tell you, the amount of things, the amount of atrocities and sin I have committed in my own personal life is horrendous. I've committed one of the greatest sins, actually two of the greatest sins that exist. And yet He still loves me. He still showers me with love. He still speaks to me through dreams and visions in His creation. The wind blowing through my hair is a display of His presence and His love for me. And He loves me so well and so freely, right? I call this free will love.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And He extends His free will love to me and expects me to extend free will love to others. What is free will love?
Yes.
Free will, what is love? First of all, love is not a currency exchange. If it's a currency exchange, it's actually like prostitution.
Mm-hmm.
If I can't love someone without expecting something back, I've entered into a business exchange, a currency exchange. That is not love. That is not free will love. That is not God love. And by the way, many of my Muslim brothers and sisters have the same exact view.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Love is unconditionally loving another and genuinely desiring the best for that person and putting their preferences above your own. Romans 15 talks about this. Radically changed my life. 2 phrases jumped out of the page, and for 3.5 hours, I sat in the study here, literally questioning everything. and ultimately ended up weeping and repenting before the Lord. The first one was he did not seek to please himself, and he became a servant. This
Yep.
is talking about Yeshua. The King of Kings and the Lord of Lords did not seek to please himself, and he became a servant. I felt disgustingly sick to my stomach as I walked through this process. What does this mean? The King of Kings and the Lord of Lords didn't seek to please himself, and he became a servant. Am I seeking to please myself, or am I seeking to please others? Am I being a servant to others, or am I expecting them to serve? Oh, ouch, right?
Yep.
When I extend love to someone who's vastly different than me, am I expecting something in return? When I say I love you, am I expecting you to say it back? And if I am, do I really mean what I'm saying?
Yes.
Or am I actually able to say, I love you? And if I don't hear it back, I still love you.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm still working on these things myself, right? I'm
I
still growing.
actually love that statement, that last statement. If I am telling you I love you, am I expecting you to say that back? And if you're not saying that back, how does that make me feel? And am I still loving you if you aren't saying that back? I absolutely love that statement.
And that's a hard one, right? That's so. And let's remember, we're talking about people that we know, right? But are we?
Yeah.
Because we're actually told that we're supposed to love others. Period.
We're
In
supposed
fact,
to love others as we love God and love ourselves. Yeah.
in fact, we're actually told to love our enemies.
You are.
So if I'm supposed to love others and love my enemies, and we go back to what does love truly mean? It's not a currency exchange. It's not prostitution. It's not a business exchange. What does that really look like? I'm still so growing in this area.
I love
And,
it.
but if we can at least begin the conversation here, like this is even within our own immediate family.
Yeah.
I honestly, looking back, I've been divorced almost 3 years. I've learned so much in the last 3 years and realized now I was a huge part of the problem. Like I never wanted to admit it, right? Like it was all him. No, actually, that's not even close to true. Did he play a role? Sure. But honestly, I'm realizing in fact, in all of my relationships where there's brokenness, I carry a huge responsibility,
I,
largely because of this right here.
yep.
Because I have not known what it means to free will love.
Yep. I totally wholeheartedly understand that from a perspective of just being in relationship with others. One of the things that I was telling you on a personal level is, just coming out of the situation that I came out of, I began to take accountability. More people were asking me, well, why are you blaming yourself? It's not that I'm blaming myself for anything, but what I am doing is taking responsibility and accountability for the role I played in the situation.
And it's actually very freeing, right? Like
Yeah.
you go through a series of emotions, right? Because there's a lot of grief. I mean, I have experienced a great deal of grief when I realize the people that I've hurt, the relationships that I've destroyed, and
Yes.
the potential for witness that I've destroyed. And I
Yes.
don't know if I will ever recover those things. And grief comes in that, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so, but then you also experience liberation when you
It's very,
realize,
yeah, I was going to say it's very healing. When you
yeah,
take responsibility and you take accountability for your role in the situation, when you start to recognize, hey, there are things about me that I actually need to change, then you'll start to understand, you know what? I can't go around blaming that other person for all of this. I can't go around saying that this person did this or this person did that.
yeah,
No, I've got to talk to myself about why it is I feel the way that I feel.
so much. I'm going to sidetrack because I'm one of those, like, I think I might have ADD. I just realized I'm looking at you on the screen, but my eyes are like looking in the opposite direction.
You're
So, I really am listening to you.
You're good. No, you got to remember we are on mirroring screen, so you're good.
Exactly.
So my next question to you are, what are some of the most surprising benefits you've discovered through embracing a healthier, more culturally aware lifestyle?
Oh my gosh. Right off the bat, my relationship with God has exponentially grown deeper. In spite of so many within the Christian community have even reached out to me privately, and like, and family members, I'm really concerned about you, whatever. It seems like maybe you're veering or whatever. And I'm like, I have never felt more liberated and more close to God than I do now. And like, I'm actually like, I feel like have a better capacity to love others now than I did before. I feel like there's a lot less hate in my heart, and I'm reaching people that I never would have reached before. Right. So I would say right off the bat, my personal spiritual walk, man, has grown so much deeper. Secondly, friendships. I have friends from all around the world that I talk to on a very regular basis. I have friends that I communicate with almost daily in the Middle East, in Europe, and people that I have met in person, that I've stayed with some of them. Food, man, my palate has increased, and I was born in the wrong country. So, there are a lot of benefits.
Okay. Now, recently, you've also talked about rediscovering the importance of community being a milestone for you. What role does community play in functional whole health for you?
Oh, wow. So much. It's, and I'll be very, very open right now. There's one of the things I'm actually working through and trying to solve in my mind and my heart is the whole Trinity and God the Father, Jesus the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and all the things. If that is true, that Jesus is God, and if that is true, that somehow he's 3 in 1, that in and of itself is the epitome of relationship. It is the epitome of community. Literally, he's in a relationship with himself. How bizarre is that? Like, I still can't wrap my head around that. It's weird, if we're honest.
But listen, the thing about it is we have to be in relationship with ourselves too, in order for you to recognize who you are and recognize your own weaknesses and strengths, to be able to serve others. That's why we tell people to sit in stillness, to meditate, to do all of that, because you're actually developing a relationship with yourself that way.
Absolutely. And, and here's the thing is, and this kind of actually is a segue into emotional intelligence as well. Emotional intelligence is so important for discovering who you are and why. Are you okay with it? Are you satisfied with who you are? Why or why not? And then what can you change? Do you have a lot of broken relationships in your life? Like, this was one of the key factors for me, is like, I was beginning to realize I kind of have a lot of broken relationships. I kind of had a lot of issues with people. Like, why is that? When I started actually going through this whole emotional intelligence process, and more importantly, going through this spiritual journey, that's when I was like, well, there's a common denominator. It's me. And there were a lot of things about myself that I actually didn't like. There were a lot of things about myself that I was kind of freaked out about and afraid of. And just, there's so much. And so it all plays together. And so, back to the whole, just the community and all the things, we're clearly designed as a part of a larger group. There's not just one human being on the earth. And here's the creation part of finding Hanasa. One of the things that I've learned, and this is in the book that I'm writing, one of the beautiful things I learned from barn swallows, it's a type of bird, okay? they build nests, and I think all birds do this, but maybe differently. I saw them outside my window, and I saw a few at first, and they were gathering the things and building the nest, right? And it was sitting up in the corner of the patio. I was really ticked off because poop was everywhere and all the things, but I started realizing there's something amazing that's happening here. And so these birds, like the mama bird lays the eggs, and there's these eggs in there, and she's sitting there. Well, these other birds are bringing her food as she sits on the eggs. If they didn't bring her the food, she couldn't eat. If she doesn't eat, she can't survive. If she can't survive, the babies aren't going to make it, right? And so it's like this whole circle of life. Well, then after the babies hatch, and now they're alive in the nest outside of the eggs, and then the mama bird goes away, and she goes and does whatever. She probably needs a break, right? These other birds come in and take her place. Well, these little bitty birds, when they start getting a little bit bigger, they decide they want to try to fly the nest, but it's not time yet. So they get up on the edge, and they start trying to fly. Well, then these other birds who are like in this outer layer of security swoop in, push the baby bird back into the nest. Well, when that bird leaves to come in and swoop and push the baby back in the nest, another bird further out comes in and takes the place of the one who left to go push the baby back. Like, it's remarkable.
It's community. It's community.
And I'm like, if birds need community, literally every animal on earth requires community. I'm not sure of one that doesn't. I'm sure somebody's going to tell me where I'm wrong. We were not designed to do life alone.
We were not. Now, you're working on a book bundle called Finding Hanasa, which you keep mentioning. Tell us a little bit more about it and how it connects you to your immersive journeys.
Sure. So, first of all, Finding Hanasa. Hanasa is a Kurdish term of endearment that people will use for loved ones, and it means my breath. It means you're the reason I wake up in the morning. You're the reason I live. You're what gives me purpose.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And so on this journey of me, radically pursuing who God is, vulnerably and courageously, if you will, because I literally said, whatever it is, I want to know, and I'm going to follow that, even if it's uncomfortable or whatever. Right.
Right.
And so as I've been on this journey of genuinely seeking who he is, I couldn't think of anything better to sum up what I've been discovering. That I have found my Hanasa, I've found my breath, my reason for living, my reason for being, my purpose, right? And the subtitle, Creation, Community, Culture, has all beautifully and intentionally by his design played a role in me finding my Hanasa. So there's a thicker book that'll come out a little bit later. It's finished. It just needs to go through editing and all the things. It's a very similar book to my latest book called Captivated, Who Is This Man?, which you can get at hispublishinghouse.com. So there's the bigger book that'll come out later, but I'm creating the journey guide, which is a very short book explaining why finding Hanasa. And then there will be a journal that is going to go along with that. This book bundle will be part of the 10-day journey, and I will also be hosting weekend immersive retreats as well for Finding Hanasa here in the States. Okay. And that book bundle will go with it also.
Okay. What are some of the key lessons you hope readers will take away from your book bundle and from the immersive experiences you'll offer?
That they find Hanasa. It's
Finding
that simple.
Their own breath. Okay.
That simple. It is that simple.
All right. Now, how do these immersive journeys help individuals connect with creation, community, and culture?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I've discovered, and I'll give you a backdrop here. I saw a meme or something on Facebook one day, and it basically said something like this: Muslimas, which is a female Muslim, supporting Hamas is like chickens supporting KFC. And I was like, well, that's certainly catchy. And of course, there were all these, comments and all the things. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, this is really ignorant, And so I popped in and asked the question. I'm just curious to the person who made the post. Have you ever been around a Muslim community? I would never do that. Okay.
So how are you even able to make that post if you've never even experienced that culture or that community? That seems a little biased.
Yeah, it gets better. So I take this person down the journey. Okay, well, have you ever spent any time in a Muslim community? I would never do that. No, 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 no. I don't even live anywhere. No, 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 no. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, have you ever been to a Muslim country? No, I would never go. And have you been to any other country outside the United States? No. Come to find out, this person's never even been out of their own state. So what I've discovered is there are a lot of, more than I would like to admit, Americans who have not only traveled to another country, but many have never even actually left their state. And I've also been discovering that there are many people who are not spending time outside of their culture or with people who are vastly different from them on purpose.
Okay.
This is also largely happening within certain Christian communities.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And so you're really limiting yourself. So in these journeys, especially the 10-day journey, we will intentionally, specifically go to other countries, and we'll do some touristy stuff. But for the most part, we will really be immersing ourselves in local community and experiencing life as they do. Whatever country it may be. Italy is on the agenda. Greece is on the agenda. Dubai will be on the agenda. India is on the agenda. Potentially Israel, potentially Pakistan, and some other places, Cyprus. And so really immersing ourselves intentionally into other cultures, having other experiences, the food, all the things, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the 10-day journey. And we'll do a lot of outdoor nature things as well. And then in the States for the weekend immersive, it'll be similar to that, but it'll obviously, because of time's sake, we're talking about maybe a 2-day retreat, and it's going to be here in the States. We will have to be a little more diligent about intentionally submersing or immersing ourselves in other types of culture. It's not impossible, but it will be more challenging. And so again, and we'll do a lot more outdoor activities and just experiencing nature in these journeys, the short and the 10-day. It will be requested that everybody get off of social media and everybody cease all communication with anybody outside of the group, so that can really be intentional with one another and just in that space of personal growth and development.
I love it. I love it. Now, you've mentioned living on purpose and with intention. Can you share some strategies to our listeners to find and follow their own purpose?
Yeah. So one of the things is you can register to go through facilitation with me, where I actually walk you through, because it's definitely not something you can answer in 2 minutes, and nor can you answer it in 2 to 3 sessions. It's a journey.
Sometimes I was going to say, it's sometimes a lifelong process.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And so, so the biggest thing I would say, yes, reach out and subscribe to our services, to our consulting, our facilitation. The next thing is register for one of these journeys, whether it be the 10-day international journey or a weekend immersive journey here in the States, because that's where you will begin to learn more about these processes and the tools that we're using. The next thing is I just encourage anyone who has this desire to go on that journey.
Okay.
Cut out all the noise. Cut out all the noise and just go to the source and ask him to show you who he is, who you are, and how you're supposed to relate to those around you, and to help discover what your purpose is, which, by the way, that's what these journeys are for. And that's what we are going to be providing online courses also that will, I believe right now they're going to be priced at $9.99 a course. And you will receive a certificate of completion at the end of that course. Right now, we're building out a cultural wellness course, and then also a improving relationship course. So that's another option. But really the biggest thing is just cut out all the other voices and just really go into doing a very deep personal assessment, who you are, How did you come to be this? Why do you believe what you believe? Start asking yourself those questions. It's crucial.
Okay. Now, in your view, how can functional whole health contribute to global security and stability?
Yeah, for sure. So when I talk about whole health wellness, again, we're talking about mind, body, spirit, emotions,
Mm-hmm.
culture, all the things. When I am physically healthy, when I am emotionally healthy, first of all, when I'm physically healthy, I'm not relying on other people to do things for me. I sustained a severe back injury a couple of years ago, was bedridden in a wheelchair and all the things. Other people literally had to bathe me, feed me and stuff. It was extremely humiliating and very frustrating for all of us. I could have avoided that if I had been taking better care of myself and had lost the weight like I knew I should have. It would have maybe been a minor discomfort as opposed to a debilitating injury. Same thing with other medical illnesses and things like that. When we are healthy physically, we don't have to rely on others. We don't have to rely on the medical system. We are not draining the medical system. We are not draining government and state resources. We are giving back to society rather than taking. Okay, I could
Right.
go on and on and on. When we are in spiritually healthy, right? I'm actually again contributing in a positive, loving way to society. Okay, it should be that when I'm spiritually well, I'm not lashing out at others. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
hating others. I'm not hurting others. I'm not depriving others. Right. So when I'm spiritually well, then those around me should also be better off, not
That's true.
worse off.
I love
When
that.
I'm emotionally well, okay, I'm more stable. And you were talking about earlier being in a relationship with yourself. When I'm emotionally well, I'm actually okay with being alone with myself. By the
Mm-hmm.
way, that's the thing. If you are not comfortable being alone, you might want to ask yourself why. And you might also want to assess, do I have a lot of broken relationships in my life and I don't like being around myself? Might be a common denominator. So when you're emotionally well, you're okay with being alone. You're comfortable in that solitude. When you're emotionally well, you learn how to work through problems and conflict in a healthy way. When you're emotionally well, again, you're contributing to society rather than taking from it. And you're constantly growing. When you're not growing or moving forward, that's stagnation. Stagnation leads to death. What's the next one? Nutrition, that contributes to physical health.
Yep.
Um, and then let's see, mind. When we need to intellectually be well.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we need to always be growing and expanding and learning. There are actually scientific research that's being done about Alzheimer's and dementia. When you are not continually learning new things, your brain is actually decaying. Um,
Yes.
which also learning a new language is one of the most effective and healthiest ways that you can keep your brain function healthy and strong. So,
Now, let me ask you this. How do you personally balance your personal growth with helping others on their wellness journeys?
yeah, so I have actually, and I'm still learning. I realized and am realizing I tend to allow myself to be open too often and too much. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm really learning how to limit my availability, especially limit my availability to certain individuals. Um, and that's discovered in, am I seeing growth in this person? Are they sucking the energy out of me? Do I
Yeah.
walk away feeling exhausted and taxed, or do I walk away feeling fulfilled and liberated and like I've helped this person? Am I seeing fruit in them? Right. So there are certain people who will come to you and they just want to leech off of you and they're never growing. They're never giving back. You're not seeing progress. Shake the dust off and move on, sister. That's one of the things I'm really having to learn.
You and
And
me
then
both.
just, yeah, I know, right? And then just setting boundaries, setting healthy boundaries. I actually just showed my daughter earlier. There's this app that I called that is an app that I downloaded. It's called Structured. And it's beautiful because it's really helping me stay more structured in how I handle my time. So I think that's the biggest thing is self-awareness, and setting boundaries for myself, and recognizing what's healthy and what's not, what's productive and what's not.
Love it. Okay. So I'm going to give you an opportunity here. What final message or encouragement would you like to leave with our listeners who are looking to embrace a more holistic and culturally aware approach to wellness? And when you're finished with that, I want you to tell people how they can actually find you.
Okay, sure. So I think I would say, if you feel lost in any way, if you feel stuck, if you feel like you're just kind of making it or you're just working to survive, if you have dreams, goals, and aspirations that you feel like you want to reach, but for some reason you're not, if you have broken relationships, any of those things, if you maybe you're not really sure about your spiritual walk or who God is or who you are in Him and how you're supposed to relate to others, then I would say that go after it, all in. Decide to be either all in or not at all. But when you do that, be ready because you will get some pushback from people around you, especially those who are not willing to have a healthy, intellectual, objective conversation and journey. There are some people who are okay and comfortable with the status quo and living in mediocrity. There are some people who choose pain and discomfort and trauma over healing and wellness. Don't allow them to influence your journey. I just encourage you again to go all in, cut out all the other noise, and decide for yourself who is it that you genuinely want to know and who do you want to become, and then focus on that. And journal, write things out. If you don't seek my services, I do encourage you to seek the services of someone who can help walk you through the emotional intelligence and just evaluating your personal life and how you view God and yourself and how you view others. It's extremely important. You can get a hold of me and find me through various avenues. Hispublishinghouse.com is where you can find my books. And then globalagentsofchange.org is our humanitarian crisis response nonprofit organization. There's a lot of great information there and ways that you can actually get involved in serving others, and which is a huge aspect of whole health, is serving others. KeyofDavidConsulting.com is our global security and whole health and wellness business site where you can subscribe to our services or hire us for any of those things. And soon coming is findinghanasa.com. Still building the website. That will be finished soon. I believe it will be officially released on October 14th, possibly sooner. And with that book bundle, Finding Hanasa, the big book, and then Finding Hanasa Journey Guide and Finding Hanasa Journal. And then registering for the Finding Hanasa 10-day international journey or the short immersive in the States. We also have online courses that you can register for. And there are activities, there are tools that you go through, and then activities that are required. By the end of the course, you will receive a certificate of completion. So those are some ways that you can reach out. And I look forward to hearing from you. I am open to answering questions and consultations. So,
well, I'm going to post all of that information in the description of this particular podcast episode. And I want to thank you so much for being open and available to be on here with us. And again, you guys, if you see the website scrolling across the bottom of the screen, Ann is one of our featured cultural wellness speakers for the 10 Dimensions of Wellness Virtual Summit. So This wraps up another episode of the 10 Dimensions of Wellness podcast. A big thank you again to Ann Lindholm for sharing her experience of functional whole health and cultural awareness. It's a powerful reminder of how embracing a holistic approach to wellness and broadening our understanding of different cultures can enhance our lives and can contribute to global security. If Ann's insights resonated with you, be sure to catch her full session at the Virtual Wellness Summit. Details are available on my website, which is scrolling across the bottom of the screen again. Don't forget to subscribe, share this podcast with those who could benefit, and leave a review to let us know your thoughts. Thank you for listening. And remember, true wellness embraces every part of who we are, including our cultural perspectives. Until next time, take care and stay well.